The law has been in place since 1983.
Any Canadian citizen can legally ask the federal government to release official documents. 40 years later, some requests are still awaiting a response.
Entire ministries are blackening pages before sending them. And the most sensitive documents are simply never produced, lost, destroyed, or classified with no expiration date. This series is what Ottawa would rather you didn't know.
The Access to Information Act was adopted by Canada's Parliament in 1983 under Prime Minister Trudeau Sr. It is inspired by the U.S. Freedom of Information Act from 1966 and grants every citizen the legal right to request documents held by federal institutions. The legal response time is 30 days, with a symbolic fee of $5.
On paper, the system is exemplary.
In practice, institutions have dozens of loopholes to refuse or delay: national security, federal-provincial relations, privacy, cabinet deliberations, confidential business information.
In 2022 to 2023, Library and Archives Canada had an average delay of 270 days.
The RCMP took an average of 14 months to respond. CSIS, the Canadian Intelligence Service, refused to confirm or deny the existence of certain documents.
This is not a flaw in the system. This is its normal functioning. The official position of the Canadian government is that of a transparent democracy committed to public accountability.
The Information Commissioner publishes annual reports. The open.canada.ca portal centralizes thousands of datasets. In 2019, Bill C-58 reformed the law for the first time in 36 years, allowing institutions to proactively publish documents. The government takes pride in being among the most transparent democracies in the world. International rankings on freedom of information place Canada in the top quarter globally. The Prime Minister regularly announces his commitment to an open government. Officially, citizens have the right to know. Institutions have the duty to respond. In 2022, Canada's Information Commissioner published a damning report. 39% of processed requests exceeded legal deadlines. 11 federal institutions received an F grade, the failure mark. The RCMP, CSIS, Global Affairs Canada, and the Prime Minister's Office were among the worst performers. Bill C-58, presented as major reform, was denounced by the Information Commissioner herself as insufficient. It maintained the exemption for the Prime Minister's Office. No real sanction was imposed for chronic delays. It left intact the most used mechanism to block sensitive requests, the cabinet deliberations exemption, which can last up to 20 years. The most revealing documents are often the most heavily redacted. A 40-page document may come back with 38 pages entirely blackened out. Some documents are unfindable, an official response even when their existence is proven by other sources. What ATI requests have revealed when they worked is extraordinary. Donald Ewan Cameron's experiments at McGill University's Allen Memorial Institute were partially revealed through declassified archives combined with ATI requests. The RCMP's illegal operations in Quebec in the 1970s, burglaries, arson, infiltration, were documented thanks to the MacDonald Report itself, a result of an ATI forced by leaks. The Guzenko affair in 1945, the defection of Soviet cryptographer in Ottawa that triggered the Cold War, is now partly documented through Library and Archives Canada archives, some funds of which took decades to become accessible. The nutritional experiments conducted on Indigenous children at residential schools between 1942 and 1952, deliberately starved to serve as study subjects, are not revealed by a government initiative but by a historian who requested access to federal archives in 2013. In each case, the government did not open up spontaneously. It was forced. What this series will show is the distance between Canada as it is presented, a peaceful, democratic, rights-respecting country, and the Canada that appears in its own internal documents. This is not an ideological critique. It's a reading of primary sources. Canadian institutions conducted non-consensual psychological experiments on patients. They spied on citizens for their political opinions. They allowed a Soviet espionage network to operate for years. They carried out medical experiments on Indigenous children. These facts are not allegations, they are documented, acknowledged, and in several cases, have led to official apologies decades after the fact.
Canada's transparency system functions with a delay. Archives open when officials are dead, cases are prescribed, political consequences are manageable. This series does not wait for this delay.
In 2024, the Information Commissioner continues to document systemic failures.
The median processing time for complex ATI requests has now exceeded 2 years in several ministries.
The government has announced a new action plan for access to information, the third in 10 years. Commissioner Carrie Ann Baber called the situation a crisis. Investigative journalists like those from the Globe and Mail, La Presse, and CBC continue to use ATI to force the publication of documents that the government would prefer to keep confidential.
University researchers like Ian Mosby have used federal archives to reveal chapters of Canadian history that did not exist in school textbooks. The tools are available.
Results prove they work when used properly.
40 years of Access to Information Act. Thousands of requests, millions of redacted pages, decades of delays.
And yet, when the documents finally come out, what they contain often exceeds what fiction could imagine.
This series is that work, reading what Ottawa preferred to keep in its drawers. The documents are there.
The confidential stamps are there.
The black bars on the Canadian government documents are there.
And what was not blackened says sometimes more than everything else.
Subscribe to not miss the next episode.